The Lockheed P-38 Lightning was one of the most distinctive fighters of World War II. With its twin-boom design and central nacelle, it looked like nothing else in the sky. Powered by two Allison V1710 engines, producing 1,475 horsepower each, the Lightning could reach 414 miles per hour and climb to 44,000 feet. The concentrated nose armament was devastating. One 20mm cannon and 4.50 caliber machine guns firing straight ahead, meaning every round went exactly where the pilot aimed. This configuration made it incredibly accurate. The P-38 excelled in the Pacific theater, where its long range of 1,300 miles allowed it to escort bombers deep into enemy territory. Major Richard Bong, America's top ace with 40 victories, flew the Lightning exclusively. The twin-engine design gave pilots confidence over vast ocean expanses, and its speed made it perfect for intercepting Japanese bombers. Over 10,000 were built between 1941 and 1945. The Republic P-47 Thunderbolt was a giant among fighters, weighing in at 17,500 pounds fully loaded. It was nicknamed the Jug for its massive radial engine cowling. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 double Wasp engine generated an incredible 2,535 horsepower with water injection, pushing the Thunderbolt to 433 miles per hour. But speed wasn't its greatest asset, survivability was. The P-47 could absorb tremendous battle damage and keep flying. Its rugged construction and large radial engine acted like a shield for the pilot. Armed with 8.50 caliber machine guns, 4 in each wing, it could carry 2,500 pounds of bombs or 10 rockets. In the European theater, P-47s transitioned from high-altitude escort to devastating ground attack missions. They destroyed thousands of locomotives, tanks, and vehicles during the Allied advance across France and Germany. The Thunderbolt's ability to dive at high speed, deliver ordnance accurately, and survive intense flak made it the ultimate ground attack platform. More than 15,600 were produced, making it the most produced American fighter of the war.
The North American P-51 Mustang changed the course of the air war over Europe. Early versions with Allison engines showed promise, but when the British mated the Mustang airframe with the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, they created a masterpiece. The Packard-built V1650 Merlin produced 1,695 horsepower and gave the Mustang a top speed of 437 miles an hour and a service ceiling of 41,900 feet. But the game changer was range. With external drop tanks, the P-51 could fly 1,650 miles, finally giving bombers escort protection all the way to Berlin and back. Before the Mustang's arrival, bomber losses were unsustainable. With Mustang escorts, the Luftwaffe's fighter force was systematically destroyed. The Mustang was also remarkably agile, outturning the German Bf-109 and competing with the FW-190. Armed with 6.50 caliber machine guns and capable of carrying rockets or bombs, it dominated both air-to-air and ground attack missions. Over 15,000 Mustangs were built, and the design was so successful, it remained in service with some air forces into the 1980s.
The North American F-82 twin Mustang was born from a specific need, escorting B-29 bombers on extremely long-range missions against Japan. Engineers literally joined two P-51 fuselages with a common wing and horizontal stabilizer. Each fuselage had a Packard V1650 Merlin engine producing 1,860 horsepower. The radical design allowed for a pilot and co-pilot or radar operator, reducing fatigue on missions lasting over 8 hours. With drop tanks, the F-82 had a range of 2,240 miles. Top speed was 461 miles per hour at 21,000 feet. Armament consisted of 6.50 caliber machine guns in the center wing section, plus underwing hardpoints for bombs or rockets. Although World War II ended before the F-82 saw combat in the Pacific, it found its purpose in the Korean War. Equipped with radar, the F-82 excelled as a night and all-weather fighter, protecting air bases from North Korean raids. On June 27, 1950, an F-82 scored the first American air victory of that conflict, shooting down a North Korean Yak-9. The Grumman F6F Hellcat was designed with one purpose: destroy the Japanese Zero. Grumman engineers studied captured Zeros and built a fighter specifically to counter it. The result was a straightforward, rugged aircraft that prioritized pilot protection and ease of manufacture. Powered by a Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp producing 2,000 horsepower, the Hellcat reached 391 miles per hour and had a service ceiling of 37,300 feet. While not as nimble as the Zero in slow-speed dogfights, the Hellcat was faster, could dive away from trouble, and was far more durable. Armor plating protected the pilot, and self-sealing fuel tanks prevented catastrophic fires. 6.50 caliber machine guns provided heavy firepower, and underwing hardpoints carried bombs or rockets for ground attack. The Hellcat's success was staggering. American Navy pilots achieved a kill ratio of 19-to-1 against Japanese aircraft. The Hellcat destroyed more enemy aircraft than any other Allied fighter, over 5,200 in air combat alone. It was flown by many of the Navy's top aces and remained the backbone of carrier aviation through 1945. Over 12,200 were built in just over 2 years. The Vought F4U Corsair is instantly recognizable by its inverted gull wing design. This distinctive feature solved a critical problem. The massive 13-foot propeller needed ground clearance, but a straight wing would require impossibly long landing gear. The bent wing allowed shorter, stronger gear while keeping the propeller clear. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp produced 2,250 horsepower, giving the Corsair a top speed of 446 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest piston engine fighters ever built. Initially deemed too difficult to land on carriers due to poor forward visibility and bouncy landing gear, the Corsair found its first home with the Marine Corps operating from land bases in the Pacific. It excelled in this role, with Marine pilots like Pappy Boyington's Black Sheep Squadron achieving legendary status. Eventually, carrier landing techniques improved, and the Corsair became a Navy staple too. Armed with 6.50 caliber machine guns or 4 20mm cannons, plus the ability to carry 4,000 pounds of bombs or 8 rockets, the Corsair was equally deadly in air combat and ground attack. It achieved an 11-to-1 kill ratio in the Pacific. The Corsair continued fighting through the Korean War, where it was primarily used for close air support. Over 12,500 were built, and the aircraft had remarkable longevity. While retired from U.S. service in the 1950s, some countries flew Corsairs for decades longer. The Corsair even saw its final combat in 1969, during the Soccer War between Honduras and El Salvador, where Honduran Corsairs fought against Salvadoran Corsairs and Mustangs, and the last aerial combat between piston engine fighters in history. The Grumman F8F Bearcat was Grumman's attempt to create the ultimate lightweight fighter. Learning from the Pacific War, they designed the smallest, lightest airframe possible around the reliable R2800 engine. The result was a fighter weighing just 9,386 pounds fully loaded, nearly 3,000 pounds lighter than the Hellcat. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 produced 2,250 horsepower, giving the tiny Bearcat a phenomenal power-to-weight ratio. It could reach 421 miles an hour and climb to 10,000 feet in just 94 seconds, faster than almost any piston engine fighter. The Bearcat could outturn and outclimb virtually anything in the sky. Armed with 4 50 caliber machine guns or 4 20mm cannons, it could also carry bombs or rockets. However, the Bearcat arrived too late for World War II, with deliveries beginning in early 1945. By the time it entered service, the war was ending and jet aircraft were emerging. The Bearcat served briefly with the U.S. Navy in the late 1940s, but never saw combat with American forces. It was exported to France and saw extensive action in Indochina. The Bearcat later became a favorite in air racing, with modified versions still competing today. Only 1,265 were built before production ended in 1949. The Grumman F7F Tigercat was Grumman's most powerful piston engine fighter. Unlike most carrier aircraft, the Tigercat was designed as a twin-engine heavy fighter with devastating firepower. 2 Pratt & Whitney R2800 engines producing 2,100 horsepower each gave it a top speed of 435 miles per hour and a service ceiling of 40,700 feet. The Tigercat was armed with 4 20mm cannons and 4 50 caliber machine guns,
concentrated in the nose, the heaviest forward-firing armament of any American fighter. It could carry 2,000 pounds of bombs or torpedoes under the wings. The F7F was designed to operate from the new Midway-class carriers, which could handle its size and weight. However, most Tigercats were too large for earlier carrier operations and served primarily with the Marine Corps from land bases. The aircraft arrived too late for extensive World War II combat, with only a few seeing action in the final weeks. The Tigercat found its calling as a night fighter, with radar-equipped F7F 3N versions serving in Korea. Marine night fighter squadrons used Tigercats to intercept North Korean PO-2 biplanes conducting harassment raids. The Tigercat's speed, heavy armament, and advanced radar made it effective in this role. Only 364 were built before production ended in 1946, making it one of the rarer American warplanes.
The Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star was America's first operational jet fighter. Development began in 1943, when Lockheed's Clarence Johnson received a contract to build a jet fighter in just 180 days. His team completed the prototype in 143 days, a remarkable engineering achievement. The P-80 was powered by an Allison J-33 turbojet, producing 4,600 pounds of thrust, giving it a top speed of 558 miles per hour at 7,000 feet. While fast for the era, early jet engines were unreliable and consumed fuel rapidly, limiting range to just 780 miles. The P-80 was armed with 6.50 caliber machine guns in the nose and could carry bombs or rockets on underwing pylons. A handful reached Italy before World War II ended, but they never saw combat. The P-80 gained fame in Korea as the F-80, where it served primarily as a ground attack aircraft. On November 8, 1950, Lieutenant Russell Brown, flying an F-80C, shot down a Chinese MiG-15 near the Yalu River in the first all-jet air combat in history. This marked a new era in aerial warfare. However, the straight-wing F-80 was outclassed by the swept-wing MiG-15 in dogfights and was quickly relegated to ground attack, where it excelled. F-80s flew thousands of missions, destroying enemy positions, supply lines, and infrastructure. The Shooting Star served as a fighter-bomber, reconnaissance aircraft, and trainer as the T-33. Nearly 1,700 F-80s were built, and the type served until the mid-1950s. The Republic F-84 Thunderjet was the Air Force's first successful turbojet-powered fighter-bomber. Development began in 1944, and the first production F-84Bs entered service in 1947. Early versions were plagued with problems, structural failures, engine fires, and disappointing performance. The F-84E solved many issues with a stronger airframe and more powerful Allison J-35 engine, producing 5,560 pounds of thrust. Top speed was 622 miles per hour, and range with drop tanks reached 2,000 miles. The straight-winged Thunderjet wasn't a great dogfighter, but it was an outstanding bomber. It could carry 6,000 pounds of bombs, rockets, or even tactical nuclear weapons on underwing pylons, plus 6.50 caliber machine guns. In Korea, F-84s flew 86,408 combat missions, more than any other Air Force aircraft. They destroyed bridges, railroads, supply depots, and enemy positions with devastating effectiveness. The F-84's range allowed it to strike deep into North Korea and even into China. The swept-wing F-84F Thunderstreak variant appeared in 1954 with dramatically improved performance. Top speed increased to 695 miles per hour. The F-84F served with NATO allies throughout the Cold War. Over 7,500 Thunderjets and Thunderstreaks were built, making it one of the most produced American jets.
The North American F-86 Sabre was America's answer to the swept-wing revolution. German research captured at the end of World War II showed swept wings dramatically improved high-speed performance. North American redesigned their straight-wing FJ-1 Fury with a 35-degree swept wing, creating the F-86, powered by General Electric J-47 turbojet, producing 5,970 pounds of
of thrust. The Sabre could reach 687 miles per hour at sea level, just below the speed of sound in level flight. But speed wasn't its greatest asset. The F-86 was beautifully balanced and highly maneuverable. It featured hydraulically boosted controls that were responsive yet stable. Armed with 6 50-caliber machine guns, later versions carried rockets or bombs for ground attack. The F-86's defining moment came in Korea. When Chinese MiG-15s appeared in late 1950, they shocked UN forces with their superior performance over the F-80. The Sabre was rushed to Korea, and the stage was set for history's first large-scale jet versus jet battles. In the skies over MiG Alley along the Yalu River, Sabres and MiGs clashed daily. American pilots achieved a kill ratio of approximately 10-to-1, despite the MiG-15 having a higher top speed, better climb rate, and higher service ceiling. Superior pilot training, tactics, and the Sabre's excellent handling qualities made the difference. The F-86 produced 39 aces, pilots with 5 or more victories. Nearly 10,000 Sabres were built, serving with dozens of air forces worldwide into the 1990s. The Northrop F-89 Scorpion was designed as an all-weather interceptor to defend North America from Soviet bombers. Developed during the early Cold War when fears of nuclear attack were highest, the Scorpion was built around a powerful radar system and heavy armament. 2 Allison J-35 engines, producing 7,200 pounds of thrust each, gave it a top speed of 636 miles per hour and a service ceiling of 49,200 feet, high enough to intercept high-flying bombers. The F-89's defining feature was its armament. Early versions carried 6 20mm cannons with 200 rounds each, but later models switched to the revolutionary Mighty Mouse unguided rocket system, 104 2.75-inch rockets in wingtip pods that could be ripple-fired to saturate an area. Nuclear-tipped Genie air-to-air rockets were also carried, designed to destroy entire bomber formations with a single blast. The two-man crew, pilot and radar operator, worked together to intercept targets in all weather conditions, day or night. The Scorpion formed the backbone of Air Defense Command throughout the 1950s, with squadrons stationed across the United States and Alaska. On July 19, 1957, an F-89 fired the only nuclear air-to-air rocket ever detonated in a live test over Nevada, proving the concept worked. The Scorpion never fired shots in anger, but it served as a critical deterrent during the tensest years of the Cold War. Nearly 1,100 were built, and the type was retired in 1969 as surface-to-air missiles took over air defense duties.
The Lockheed F-94 Starfire was an evolution of the T-33 trainer, itself derived from the F-80. Lockheed stretched the fuselage to accommodate a radar operator behind the pilot and added a powerful Pratt & Whitney J-48 turbojet with afterburner, producing 8,750 pounds of thrust. Top speed was 640 miles per hour, and service ceiling was 51,400 feet. The F-94 was designed for all-weather interception, protecting North American airspace from potential Soviet bomber attacks. Early F-94A and B models carried 4.50 caliber machine guns in the nose, surrounding the radar, but the definitive F-94C introduced a radical new armament system: 24 Mighty Mouse folding fin aerial rockets in a ring around the nose, plus another 24 in wingtip pods. This gave the Starfire incredible firepower against bomber formations. The F-94 was the first Air Force jet with an afterburner and the first operational U.S. fighter with no forward-firing guns. During the Korean War, F-94s provided night air defense over Japan and shot down several North Korean aircraft attempting nighttime raids. The Starfire also served extensively with Air Defense Command, scrambling to intercept Soviet bombers testing U.S. defenses during the 1950s. Over 850 Starfires were built, serving until 1959, when more advanced interceptors like the F-102 replaced them.
The North American F-100 Super Sabre was the world's first production fighter capable of supersonic speed in level flight. It represented a quantum leap in performance. Powered by a Pratt & Whitney J-57 turbojet with afterburner producing 17,000 pounds of thrust, the F-100 could reach Mach 1.3, 864 miles per hour,
Sabre at 35,000 feet. The 45-degree swept wing and powerful engine finally broke the sound barrier in level flight without diving. On its very first flight on May 25, 1953, the prototype exceeded Mach 1 in level flight, something no previous production fighter had achieved. Early development was troubled. The prototype crashed, killing North America's chief test pilot. The aircraft suffered from inertia coupling, a dangerous aerodynamic phenomenon at high speeds that caused uncontrollable rolling. Engineers lengthened the fuselage and enlarged the vertical stabilizer, solving most problems. The F-100 was armed with 4 20mm cannons and could carry 7,040 pounds of bombs, rockets, or missiles on underwing pylons. While designed as a supersonic air superiority fighter, the Super Sabre found its true calling as a fighter-bomber. In Vietnam, F-100s flew more missions than any other Air Force aircraft, 360,283 combat sorties. They provided close air support for ground troops, struck enemy positions, and flew dangerous wild weasel missions against surface-to-air missile sites. The F-100 could deliver ordnance with precision while absorbing battle damage and bringing pilots home. Super Sabres served with the Thunderbirds demonstration team from 1956 to 1964. Over 2,200 were built,
serving with the U.S. Air Force until 1979, and with Air National Guard units into the early 1980s. The MCD F2H Banshee was the Navy's strake-wing carrier jet fighter of the early Cold War era. An evolution of the earlier F-H Phantom, the Banshee was larger and more capable. 2 Westinghouse J-34 turbojets, producing 3,250 pounds of thrust each, gave it a top speed of 580 miles per hour and a range of 1,475 miles with drop tanks. While not supersonic, the Banshee was reliable, easy to maintain, and well-suited for carrier operations. Early versions were armed with 4 20mm cannons, while later models could carry bombs, rockets, or even nuclear weapons. The F2H-2P photo reconnaissance variant was particularly successful, with its camera-equipped nose allowing intelligence-gathering missions. In Korea, Banshees flew thousands of combat missions from carriers. They provided close air support, flew interdiction strikes against enemy supply lines, and conducted reconnaissance missions deep into North Korean territory. F2H-2P photoplanes photographed virtually every significant target in North Korea, often flying unarmed into heavily defended airspace to capture critical intelligence. The Banshee's stability and long range made it excellent for these dangerous missions. Unlike Air Force jets operating from secure bases in Japan, Navy Banshees launched from carriers off the Korean coast, bringing air power directly to the combat zone. The Banshee served with the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps through the mid-1950s and with the Royal Canadian Navy until 1962. Over 800 were built, and while overshadowed by more glamorous jets, the Banshee was a dependable workhorse that served its operators well.